Hey everyone, Tony D with a hot take on some good news. This is another post millennial article. Busted. New York Times quietly deletes revisionist history from discredited 1619 project after getting called out by Trump. Um, yeah, it went right down the memory hole. And now here, if you go to the site, this is what the 1619 project on the New York Times looked like. The 1619 Project is a major initiative from the New York Times observing the 400th anniversary of the beginning of American slavery. It aims to reframe the country's history and underlined here, understanding 1619 as our true founding and placing the consequences of slavery and the contribution of black America at the very center of the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Now, the website says, it aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of black Americans at the very center of our national narrative. See, they changed the wording of it in 1 month. Down the memory hole. And Ida Bay Wells seems to kind of gaslight Ben Shapiro in an argument, because Ben Shapiro quotes it as, and it says right here, understanding 1619 as our true founding. And then Ida Bay Wells, in my view, is being disingenuous, was saying, actually, no, it asks us to consider what it would mean to regard 1619 as our true founding. It doesn't argue, for obvious reasons, that 1619 is our true founding. Why lie about what people can easily verify, except that, most people won't verify? Well, you can verify it from this old website page. It aims to reframe the country's history, understanding 1619 as our true founding. That seems pretty straightforward. And also, let's understand what it aims to reframe means. You're essentially rewriting history. And part of this rewritten history is that America was a slaveocracy. And the reason it starts in 1619 is because, that's when the slavery started. And here it is on one of her tweets. I argue 1619 is our true founding. I also look at the banner pic in my profile. I mean, that was over a year ago. And now suddenly it's all changed. Suddenly she just changed her argument. This is, again, typical Marxist gaslighting. They just lie, in my view. In my view, she's just lying. Which is why she shouldn't be taken seriously as any kind of academic or writer or journalist or anything. She shouldn't be taken seriously. This is dumb. The 1619 Project is idiotic. It's a conspiracy theory for black supremacists. So, beyond the unethical behavior of not disclosing edits, why does it matter that this change was made? Says the article. Yeah, the historians have gone over why this is nonsense. I mean, one of the parts in 1619 Project said that the reason for the American Revolution was that the Brits were making rumblings about banning slaves, and that the colonists revolted because they were trying to protect the slave trade, which is just insane. That did not happen. That is wrong. That is wrong history. So, and this is a clip of Trump saying.
As many of you testified today, the left-wing rioting and mayhem are the direct result of decades of left-wing indoctrination in our schools.
It's true. It's true. Look, I went to school. I went to a public school, and I came out very left-leaning. I was a Democrat. I wanted to go to protest. I wanted to get those damn Republicans, because I was taught that. I was taught that Republicans are for the rich and that Democrats are for the working people. And it wasn't a straightforward teaching. It was all sort of subtle and applied. And a lot of it was just because my teachers sort of back in my day, they weren't allowed to do that, and they would get called out on occasion, but they would mutter under their breath, "Oh yeah, there's Republicans, right?" And they're all very, very liberal teachers. Most teachers are. A lot of people complain, "Oh, teachers, they don't get paid enough." Well, they get the whole summer off, and they get paid like an adult. Yeah, they don't get paid a lot, but they do have the whole summer off where they can do whatever they want and get another job, and some of them do. And, I've worked as a substitute teacher, and I can tell you, this is a pretty easy gig. Teaching is an easy gig. First off, you don't really work a full day. Um, it's very easy to hide behind the administration because the administration just wants kids out, in and out. Get them in, get them out. That's all they want. They don't want to hear any complaints. And you do that, you're out by 3, baby. You're out the door by 3. 3:30 at the latest. Plus, you get a prep period, you get a lunch period. Yeah, you schedule that stuff at the end of the day, you could be home in time for lunch. Get yourself a late lunch. You're out the door by 1:30. Grab yourself a late lunch. You got the rest of the day all to yourself. Once you get tenure, no one's ever going to fire you. So how hard is it to teach, I don't know, 7th grade Spanish or algebra? It's not that hard. Not that hard. It takes a few years to get up and running, sure. I mean, you got to have some training. I'm not saying you have to be totally ignorant, but once you get it down, 3 or 4 years, you got it. You got it in the bag. And then you got it made. You get your summers off. Yeah, you got a couple of days of in-service. You got to go back a little earlier before the kids, but you get all Christmas off. You get Thanksgiving off. You get all the holidays the kids get. It's not a bad life. It's not a bad life at all. Yeah, you don't get paid a lot, but you get paid an adult wage. And if you get your master's, which you'll totally have time to do, you can get paid even more. So these teachers are very well taken care of, in my view.
On far too long, our children are instructed from propaganda tracks like those of Howard Zinn that try to make students ashamed of their own history.
It's true. It's why, U.S. history turned into social studies, why civics turned into social studies. And it's not a lot of straight up facts. There's a lot of opinion in it. And it's not just the teachers, the literature you get. Like when the kids have to read a story, especially if it's history related, that will be shaped in a way that's very progressive. Because the teachers think that by being progressive, they're being good. They're teaching the children good things. So I understand why they're doing it. But again, limits. They have no limits. They go too far. They're teaching in some schools, especially in the California school district. I got Facebook alerts about this. They're teaching Black Lives Matter stuff. It's straight up Marxism. Black Lives Matter is not an accredited school. It's not accredited to anything as far as I know. So why should Black Lives Matter, a group that came out of activism, suddenly get to distribute literature in a school, a public school? I don't think that's appropriate. I would say that's inappropriate for any activist group that just sprung up in the last 5 years. Like, why do they get to spread their activist propaganda in the schools? They're activists. They're not educators.
The left has warped, distorted, and defiled the American story with deceptions, falsehoods, and lies. There is no better example than the New York Times totally discredited 1619 Project.
Boom, there it is. And Trump calls it out. He calls out that. He calls out critical race theory. This is all nonsense. This is conspiracy theories for progressives now. Back in the day, we had conspiracy nuts. A lot of them were on the right. The government's putting Microchips in your food, man. They want to track you, those jackbooted thugs. They want to tax your children before they're born. Now we got, left-wing conspiracy theories like this. And it was bad enough back in the heyday of the progressive 60s and 70s. You had some violent leftists to believe nonsense things, but now we have more. Now we have more of those people, and they're young and they're stupid, and they're getting themselves arrested and going to jail, where they're only going to be, unfortunately, more indoctrinated, or hopefully they're going to go, oh my God, I've ruined my life, and hopefully they'll get some help in prison, but who knows? Who knows? Well, that's, so again, that's one thing I hope second term Trump tackles. Our educational system. I want to see a more America-centric teaching curriculum. I want to see U.S. history taught again. I want to see civics taught again. Practical things about your government that you should know. People should be aware of what their government does and how it works. Then you'd know why. It was a dumb idea to turn the approval of the Supreme Court justices from 60 votes to 51. And then you won't have idiot Democrats changing the rules every time they lose.